Today Bitcoin is going to create a huge move. I'm seeing a lot of interesting formations unfolding for Bitcoin, and of course I will discuss them with you in this video. I will also have a look at the two altcoins Ethereum and Bittensor TAO, but about that later in the video. There's a lot of interesting news, especially for the Bitcoin ETFs, so watch this video all the way to the end, like the video, and let's dive right into the charts. On the 4-hour time frame, we can see this huge formation is unfolding for Bitcoin. We can see multiple touch points at this horizontal resistance line as resistance, and we can see multiple touch points at this upward sloping support trend line. Today we are most likely going to see a huge break out of this formation because the apex is coming very close. Eventually this price is getting squeezed into this apex and we're going to see a huge move either to the top side or to the downside. Of course there are two scenarios possible, and I think after this break is coming through, a huge volatile move will come for Bitcoin, and this could happen later today. So prepare yourself for this move, and if you want to trade this move, you can either wait for a confirmation of this break of the resistance line, then wait for a retest to test the resistance as support. From here you can enter the market in the long and then aim for higher prices. And if this bearish scenario plays out, you can wait for a bearish confirmation of the breakout, then wait for a retest of the previous support to turn it into resistance. From here you can enter the market in a short, and from here you can aim for lower targets. And these are the scenarios for today that I'm waiting for. So let's see if Bitcoin is going to break out of this huge formation on the 4-hour time frame, and if it does, we will see an exponential move. And if we then zoom in on the 1-hour time frame, we can also see this formation is unfolding. We can see multiple touch points on the downside as support, so we are in this uptrend on the 1-hour time frame. But on the top side we can also see 3 touch points as resistance, and eventually this price is also getting squeezed into this apex, and the apex is due for later today. So we are also seeing a break of this 1-hour pattern for today, and that could be confluent with the other pattern on the 4-hour time frame. So I am expecting that Bitcoin is going to break this bullish because we can see a little bit of an uptrend, and I think that we're going to see a bullish break eventually later today. And the Bitcoin ETF saw a very bullish day yesterday again. We saw an inflow of almost $65 million, so that is an insane amount again. And we see that BlackRock is buying for $75 million, so that is crazy. And the smart money is again buying the dip. For so far we can talk about the dip right now. And we can see that Grayscale is still selling their Bitcoin to the market. So eventually we can maybe see this next spike to the top side, what I was talking about, just like we saw earlier in the history of this ETF. We saw 3 spikes to the top sides, and this was also confluent with a lot of bullish price action for Bitcoin on the charts. So later today I want to see a lot of inflows for Bitcoin ETFs again, and then we can maybe push through the resistance on the charts. And another very interesting formation on the 1-hour time frame which is unfolding is this rising wedge formation. We can see multiple touch points on the top side as resistance and also multiple touch points on the downside as support. And this uptrend is eventually a bearish uptrend because this rising wedge formation is a bearish biased pattern. So it tends to break to the downside more often. But of course there's a lot of other interesting formations happening on the 4-hour and also on the 1-hour time frame. So let's see if we're going to see a bearish break, or that Bitcoin is coming back to this top side resistance again and maybe even force a bullish break. And that of course would have a very bullish effect on the price of Bitcoin. This rising wedge formation is a more bearish bias pattern, and it tends to break to the downside more often. So it could also break to the downside, of course. So you have to always be prepared for the two moves, and that could be a bullish move or a bearish move. But if we then zoom out a little bit and have a look at the daily time frame, we can see this huge horizontal resistance and support coming into play. And for the last weeks we've been trying to break this resistance to the top side, but every time we touch this resistance we saw a bit of a rejection from this point. And currently we can see a lot of bullish price action here, and we can also see a little bit of an uptrend because we made a low, a high, a higher low, and I want to see a break of this resistance level, and that we are going to create a new higher high. And from there we can aim for higher prices. And of course if we're going to see a break of this huge resistance level, I think we're going to retest it as support. From there we can enter the market in the long because your risk is very low at that point, because this horizontal level is a very interesting price action level. And I think from this level you can enter the market in the long or just spot buy order. That is what I'm going to do. Then we can aim for higher prices. And of course we want to break this higher side resistance, and if we break that level then we can aim for new all-time highs. And yesterday the Ethereum ETF saw again a little bit of outflow. We almost saw 1 million of outflow, so that is almost nothing. The Fidelity Ethereum ETF is buying, so that is beautiful to see, but Grayscale is still selling. And of course, we saw a little bit of an outflow yesterday, but the streak continues and we now saw 6 consecutive days of outflows, so that it's a little bit more bearish. So let's see if today we can see a little bit more bullish price action for Ethereum. And if we then have a look at the charts, we can see that Ethereum on the 4-hour time frame is in this range. On the lower side, we can see a lot of resistance and later support coming into play. And on the top side, we see multiple resistance, and currently we are back at this top side resistance. So it could have been very beautiful to trade inside of this range. So every time we touch this higher side resistance, you could have shorted, and eventually we went down to the support again. And every time we touched this support area, you could have maybe entered the market in the long to come back to this higher side resistance. And currently, as I was saying, we are back at this resistance. So let's see if Ethereum finally can pick a side and maybe see a bullish break later today. But of course, we can also come back to this huge support area on the lower side and maybe even see a bearish break later today. And if we then zoom in on the 1-hour time frame, we can see the price of Ethereum is getting squeezed into this apex. So eventually we're going to see a volatile move either to the top side or either to the downside, because eventually this price is getting squeezed into the apex and we have to pick a side. So let's see if Ethereum maybe can also already see a move later today. And if we then zoom out onto the daily time frame, we can see that Ethereum bounced from this huge green box of accumulation where I said that you have to buy at this stages, because this is very beautiful support to buy into the market. And we saw a beautiful bounce, now a little bit of sideways consolidation, and this level around the $2,900 will be my first take profit level, because this is a very strong level, as we can see a lot of support coming into the market here. And I think that if we're coming back to this horizontal level, we can see a lot of resistance coming into the market. So I think that we're seeing a little bit of a rejection first from that level. So this is my first take profit place around the $2,900. And the second altcoin I want to have a look at is Bittensor TAO. In the beginning of August, when we saw a huge dump, I was telling you that I also bought TAO at this lower side support, because this is a very interesting support level. And that was around the $215. So from that point, we bounced big and we saw already a 50% increase. So that is insane, of course. And earlier we were in this huge falling wedge formation to the downside. And I was telling you that this formation is a bullish bias pattern and tends to break more to the top side often. And we saw a big bounce from this support level. As we can see, a lot of historic price action, and we saw a huge support level unfolding. So this support level was a very interesting place to buy. And we saw a huge bounce from this level. We broke out bullish. And after that, we saw a beautiful retest of this previous resistance to turn it into support. And also this horizontal support again was coming into play. So this was kind of a double support for TAO. And now we are seeing a bounce, and we maybe can see more upside potential, because the breakout target of this formation will be the top side. And that will be around the previous all-time high, around the $730. So let's see if TAO can come back to this huge breakout target on the top side. And that of course will be very bullish. And from the point of the retest, it's possible to make a 240% increase. So that is insane, of course. So let's see if Bittensor TAO can create more bullish price action in the coming days and weeks. Please give a like if you find the video useful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.